Hello, welcome to the Micro Bakery again. Today I want to show you how I make my new rye sourdough. Here we are, let me explain what we got here. Here we have the rye flour mixed with some parts of malted rye, normal rye and sprouted rye that are dry, toast and color and mill myself, as you can see with my milling machine now. So once everything is nice and milled, what I try to do is try to use very hot water, actually boiling water, and prepare this scald. And this method has been actually practiced for a long time. I used to practice this one for my gluten-free breads, my wheat-free breads, because of course lacking gluten you need some structure, and I thought if I cook the starches maybe the dough becomes a little more gluey. And that's exactly what I wanted to replicate here. And I have to say, I have to be honest, because I like to be very clear and very transparent with you, that this method is actually being remembered to me by Proof Bakery in Arizona. You probably, if you follow sourdough channels, you definitely know that channel. I put a link in the description below just in case you don't know them, but I'm sure you do. So that bakery is an inspiration to me. They started in a garage and now they have multiple venues, they supply markets, and it's just what I want to achieve. So inspired by them, today I'm gonna add my flair, of course, with the flour, with the different flours that I toast and mill myself. But let's go straight to the recipe. I use 40% rye flour and 60% white flour. For now, I have 110% water compared to the rye flour in the dough. I add my salt for the total amount, so 100 grams, because I'm going to use 5 kilos of flour. I'm going to put the water straight away. That's it. So I'm going to do a recipe with 90% water here. Then I'm going to use 800 grams of madder, fed this morning, about 4.5 hours ago, perfect. And now I'm going to mix slightly this one together. Just so they sew together. At this point, add the rest of the flour. %60 flour. I've also added 400 grams of wholemeal flour that I mill myself. I like to mix my doughs by hand for one main reason, because I don't have a mixing machine. And I want to take this opportunity also to explain to you why I don't like to call my bread sourdoughs, but I'm forced to, because of course living in an English speaking country, the bread made with natural leavening or natural fermentation or with the mother yeast, it's known as sourdough. But what I want to explain is that if you know how to regulate the acidity of your starter, which is mainly done with very close feedings between each others, or making water bath through your starter if you use a stiff starter, sourdough doesn't have to be sour. Sourdough doesn't have to be sour. You can mild the flavor just by doing the things that I previously mentioned. Feeding it very often, or if you have a stiff starter, giving it some water bath regularly. So as you can see, the dough is coming together. I have no rush. I just want to simulate the work that a double arm machine does. I don't know if you ever seen them, but very popular in Europe, especially in Italy, where I'm from. It's coming together pretty well. There's a very good hydration. I use 90-95% when I do rye, because rye grains, especially because I toast them, they tend to absorb much more water than normal wheat. So why do I do the scald? I do the scald to try and achieve a sort of more starchy, gluey texture into my rye, and I try to do that the day before. That's why I could add the flour and the starter straight away into the dough. If you do that your starter won't die, because after 24-28 degrees your starter start to lose some properties, and you don't want to lose any property, any strength, any yeast, any bacteria that are living into the ecosystem. So I just want to make sure that at the bottom there is no dry flour, because I don't want to have lumps of flour into my dough. So that's why I try to squish with my hands while I am mixing the dough. I'm gonna let it proof here for about half an hour, and then I'm gonna fold it again to see and check the gluten structure, how we're going along. That's important for me to understand if the dough is ruined, if the fermentation is too fast, if the fermentation is too slow. So I always want to keep an eye on it. The room here, it's about 22-23 degrees today. The summer in Adelaide, it's coming close very fast, and we are in spring right now. Yesterday was very cold, but as soon as the sun comes out, this room gets very hot. Here we are, after an hour, I'm ready to fold the dough and see how we're looking. So I'm gonna wet my hand. I have some cold water here, and I'm gonna fold it as you would do with any other dough. And I can see already the gluten structure developing, even though it's rye. By tomorrow, this dough will be nice and firmer. You can see here, I want to show you how it's ripping very easily now. You can see if I pull it slightly more, it's ripping much easier. You don't have the window pane that much. So even if I try and hold a smaller bit of dough, and that's what you need to look for when you're making sourdough and you're about to shape. You want this window pane to be nice and structured, strong, that you can see through it like that, but it needs to be much bigger. You see it's ripping, so it needs a bit more fermentation, a bit more gluten development. And how do we obtain that with sourdough? With time, and also with some stretch and folds. If you are a professional baker and trying to learn how to do sourdough, what you can do is actually mix it in the bowl, in the machine. If you have a machine and you're using mechanical force to mix your dough, keep your dough in the machine for about 20 minutes and then give it just a few turns. They will help you reinforcing the gluten structure, because you're actually doing the same job that your stretch and fold does, but the machine does it for you. Just like this. Wet your hand so the dough doesn't stick to your hand. And of course, this is also a way of a bassinage. Bassinage is a French word that explains when you're adding water to your dough through your hands by folding it like I'm doing now with your wet hands. You're actually slightly increasing the hydration. So this is probably something that I will teach you in the next video as well, how to increase hydration by or using the bassinage method. So if you think that video is something that interests you, consider subscribing so you get a notification. Hit the bell so you don't lose that video, you don't miss out on that piece of knowledge and piece of content that I'm gonna do. This one in about 20 minutes, I'm gonna bulk ferment it in the fridge, because the temperature is much higher. Actually, we could check it and see at what temperature we are. So the room here is about 23 degrees, as I said before. I have a thermometer here that helps me see it. Now, let's see. Temperature is perfect. It's 25 degrees, perfect for fermentation, perfect for sourdough fermentation. The dough is at 25 degrees. You don't want it to go too higher now in temperature, so it's good that in 20 minutes I'm gonna give it another stretch and fold, and I'm gonna put it into a bowl in the fridge. Now I'm gonna fold it. Just to be some more strength. And this one goes straight into the cool room, into the fridge, in a container. Ready for tomorrow to be shaped and go through the last final stage of fermentation. also nice to do this coil fold. Helps you clean the bottom like this. Perfect. And when it comes up, the strength, it's there. You need to remember that this one is a 40% rye, so the strength, it's slightly lower, but the dough feels amazing. I'm mixing it nicely so the temperature becomes even everywhere. And that's how that looks. Perfect. Now it's time to put this dough into the bowl in the fridge. You can see how this dough is easily detaching from this mixing bowl. Okay. This one will bolt proof until tomorrow morning. Now I'm going to pull out, after about 18 hours of fermentation, the rye that I mixed yesterday. Here we are. Look at that. How big is that growing? How much beautiful fluffiness it has. Here we go. Look at that beautiful fermentation. And what strength, huh? That is actually beautiful. That is actually beautiful. Now I'm going to cut this one at 950 grams. Now I'm gonna let them dry for about 10-15 minutes, rest on the bench, and then I'm gonna do the final shape and put them in the proving basket. So what I do, put them in the rice flour, take them out and shape them this way. So I try to concentrate them to the center. This is probably the most interesting part that I want you to watch. And then I tense it a bit more, like that, nice and tense, and dunk it into the rice flour again, and in the proving basket. Flour, bench, and then we try to bring the dough to the center in this way. Of course, you don't have to be as fast as I am to begin with, but with practice you will definitely become even faster than me. If you don't have a scraper, you can use your hands like a scraper, pushing it in from the bottom, turning it around to give a nice round shape. There we go. So the rye is ready here, nice and bubbly. And I've got two different examples. So this one, I left it out for about 2 hours. Now, after it's been in the fridge all night. And this one instead, I just pulled it out of the fridge. So I want to show you how different they will grow in the oven while baking. I believe, and we'll see if I'm right, that the one that's cold, just came out of the fridge, will grow bigger than the one that's been out for 2 hours. But we'll see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. So of course, some flour on the bottom. We put one in the fridge, the one that spent the night in the fridge and the last 2 hours outside. Scoring like usual. I do a cross. Very simple. The oven, I already cleaned it, is already up to temperature. And I put it at the back there. And then I'm going to put one of the cold ones in the same position on the other side. to see, to have no excuses of temperature. You can see this one is already firmer, stays better in its position. Now for this one. There. So then I'm going to put 2 whites. These have been fermenting for 2 days in the fridge after 1 night of bulk fermentation. So the fermentation of this bread is actually beautiful. Flour, as I said, this one is a mixture of white flour and rice flour. Rice flour is to keep it nice and crunchy, and the white flour is for the color. So now I'm gonna put the steam straight away. The flue is cold. You can see beautiful steam action. Now we'll bake them for 20 minutes. So the timer has just beeped, 20 minutes have passed, so now I can open the flue and open the door to get the steam be released. This is how I open the flue, and this is how I open the oven. I've turned them around because the glass is definitely colder than the steel inside. So time is up. Bread is baked. Now I'm gonna pull it out. Beautiful white sourdough. Another one. Now with the one that stayed out for 2 hours. And the one that didn't stay out for 2 hours, you see it's growing slightly bigger in height. You can see it. Same on the other side. Here we go. So the bread baked beautifully. I have nothing literally to say. And I'm quite happy with the result. I want to show you now the loaf. So this is the beautiful rye. It smells beautiful. It's a good size, good opening, good crust. I'm very happy with it. This is the second time I tried the recipe, and I would like you to try this recipe and let me know what you think, because you know it's always very good to experiment new ideas, new concepts, new recipes, to challenge yourself, and not only that but also to try and improve on a product that you already made. And this is the white one. If you would like me to do a recipe where I show you how to make my white sourdough, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you found this content valuable, consider subscribing and push the like button. I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Ciao ragazzi.